Just a few weeks old, the summer of 2012 will be one for the record books. And it could be an especially difficult year for American farmers, says grain specialist Terry Rogensack.
Clearly one of the driest since 1988, and this is a major impact on the reproductive period for both corn, and in the next 3 weeks it's going to be on soybeans.
The hot, dry conditions could have a dramatic impact on yields. Without relief soon, farm owner Matt Hughes could lose as much as a third of his crops.
It is a sinking feeling now that we're kind of in the middle of this drought, and we watch the corn roll up in the middle of the day and the beans kind of slowly grow. And you know, I think back, I put a lot of time and effort into that, and now it's kind of all for naught. Smaller
yields mean higher prices. Corn futures have already surged more than 30% since May, and soybean is up more than 20%. That will mean higher prices for bread, dairy products, and meat, but not just for American consumers. Srinivas Thiruvadantai is an economist with the Jerome Levy Forecasting Center.
If you're going pork in China, which is one of the biggest consumers of pork in the world, the price of that pork will depend on the price of the feed, animal feed that is being used.
That may be a problem for newly prosperous countries from Asia to the Middle East, where the consumption of meat has risen significantly. Even countries considered self-sufficient in food are likely to feel the heat.
Take India, right? It's normally export sugar in a good year. But in a bad year, it needs to import sugar because it's the biggest producer, second biggest producer of sugar in the world, but one of the biggest consumers in the world. But precisely the year in which it needs to import is when the global markets are going to be very unfriendly, and it increases the stresses.
Economic and political instability around the world will only exacerbate the problem. Without rain or a let-up from the unrelenting heat in much of the U.S. Farm Belt, Thiruvadantai has not ruled out the possibility of food shortages or rationing, perhaps even hunger in some countries. Countries that have grown dependent on steady and abundant supplies from the world's largest food exporter. Mil Arcega, VOA News, Washington.